Good morning. This webinar offers closed captioning. To enable closed captioning, click on the live transcript button on the bottom of your screen and choose your preferred method. Welcome to the Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection webinar. Please note, any website or email that I mentioned will be posted in the chat. For those seeking business license assistance, you can visit the Small Business Center here at City Hall or call 312-74-GO-BIZ. Business license can be applied for or renewed online at chicagobusinessdirect.org. If you are part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, you get credit for joining this webinar by sending an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. To learn more about this program, please visit chicago.gov/business education. This webinar is being recorded and will be available at youtube.com/Chicago BACP. We encourage all attendees to ask questions. Please use the chat box to send your questions. There will be a Q&A session at the end of this presentation. Please note that the views, information, and opinions expressed during this webinar are solely those of the presenter and do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection or the City of Chicago. Today's webinar is entitled Get Going with Government Contracting, Grow Your Business with Uncle Sam. At this time, I will now turn this webinar over to Michael for us to begin.
Good morning, everyone. We have a good turnout today. I'm very excited to be a part of this webinar with BACP. BACP is an incredible partner with my organization, Greater Southwest Development Corporation. So thank you so much for having me today. Yes, today's topic on this webinar is Get Going with Government Contracting, Grow Your Business with Uncle Sam. So welcome to the Illinois PTAC at Greater Southwest Development Corporation. I run the PTAC Center. The Illinois PTAC, we're going to go into a detail a little bit, but it's part of a state grant program housed in a nonprofit, which is Greater Southwest Development Corporation. So to give you a little background on where Greater Southwest Development Corporation is, we're located down on the south side of Chicago, Western and Rockwell area. I'm sorry, 63rd and Rockwell area, which is by the 63rd and Western Chicago Lawn community. And we've been in that community for nearly 50 years, doing different community reinvestment strategies, economic development initiatives, and also senior housing. So a little bit about PTAC. So PTAC stands for Procurement Technical Assistance Center. It's a mouthful, but commonly known as PTAC throughout the country. It is funded by Department of Defense and Defense Logistics Agency, and they distribute money annually to the states. So for example, in Illinois, it comes from the DCEO department, which is Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity from the state of Illinois. And throughout the country, there are 300 PTAPs, scattered across the 49 states. And so basically the main points of this program is to help small businesses identify and access contracting opportunities with the government, guidance on how to do the bidding process, and how to register properly with federal procurement. So the Illinois PTAC, which is the program that I'm specifically a part of, has been serving Illinois businesses since 1985. And last fiscal year, nearly 400 contracts were won, federal, state, and local contracts worth nearly $650 million. So the impact of the Illinois PTAC program is pretty profound when you look at the different regions that we serve across the state. So there are 9 different offices in Illinois. We all provide fairly the same amount of services. For example, Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce has a PTAC. Greater Southwest Development Corporation has a PTAC center. Women's Business Development Center downtown has a PTAC, and College of DuPage has a PTAC as well. We all offer a slightly different focus area, but we all offer the same service underneath the state. So we help businesses identify, compete for, and win government contracts. We are a no-cost program because we're federally funded. We provide teaching, mentoring, and coaching opportunities for small businesses. We also provide our clients with a complete set of tools to research and identify contracting opportunities. And so our main focus, we help with market research and pricing, finding government opportunities, how to market yourself to a federal agency with the contracting officer, execute sam.gov and other governmental vendor registrations. We'll talk more about sam.gov today. How to read and understand government bid and proposal solicitations. So this is all regarding procurement, which is when the government buys items or services from private companies. We help, prepare, review, and finalize a bid or proposal. So when you see a contract that you really want to go after, the PTAC can help you do that properly so that you can be successful. And if you're not selected, then you take home learning lessons to be more competitive in the next submission. We help locate technical information and pricing data across the market. So we're able to do market research, see what the federal government and which specific departments have spent in procurement in the last year, and what industry area. For example, if you're trying to sell steel or manufactured steel products, that's something that we could really narrow down and find out how those were priced, who was the main purchaser, et cetera. We help navigate the certifications. I'm sure that certifications is a commonly known topic. We're going to talk more about it today, just because there's an approach that you need to take to certifications, and there's different levels of certifications. 8A, Hub Zone, Women-Owned Small Business, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, Veteran Business Enterprises. These are all different certifications that businesses can get. We help participate in electronic and other internet-based bid opportunities. So we have a program called the Illinois Bid Match Program. And when you're signed up as a PTAC client, we're able to set up a search. It's an internet search. It pulls information from 5 or 6 different federal procurement sites and sends you a daily email with contract opportunities based on your NAICS code, which is your North American Industry Standard Classification. That's a mouthful, but basically anything you sell or do for the government has a 6-digit code attached to it. We also help identify those codes for you. But basically, once you get this bid match, you get specialized contract opportunities based on your business into your email inbox every day. So this program really does the heavy lifting for you, so you're not trying to go out and look at these different contracts that are coming to you. We also handle their post-award contract administration. What this means is after a government contract has been awarded to your firm and you start the work, there's going to be compliance standards that need to be met. For example, for manufacturing, they're going to really want to see efficiency on the manufacturing floor. They're going to want to see how the money is spent. They want to see, a breakdown of all the costs on the floor. And that's something that we can help with the reporting aspect. So in summary, last fiscal year, the Illinois PTAC served over 1,600 small businesses. We conducted seminars and participated in 135 statewide events, trained over 2,500 small businesses and individuals on how to effectively compete for government contracts. Over 7,000 counseling sessions, 6,500 hours of counseling, and this resulted in nearly 400 contracts worth nearly $650 million. And what this means on the ground is 551 jobs were created and 303 jobs saved. So again, the economic impact, if you think about your local companies and your local communities, it's tremendous. For example, we have a client that we serve, had a part-time business. He was a part-time business owner, won a janitorial cleaning contract, and is now able to employ 5 full-time personnel for 18 months with a government agency. So, that's changing those people's lives. It's changing his business. He was able to go full-time with his own business and really envision this dream and see it come true. So I'm very happy to share with you all about this program. So here are the different centers throughout Illinois. There are 6 in the Chicago area and then 3 downstate. So I'm on the top, on the left side, second down, Illinois PTAC at Greater Southwest Development Corporation. That's our address. But I wanted to show you this because these are the resources throughout the state. For example, if there's somebody on this webinar that is not in the Chicagoland area, there could very well be an Illinois PTAC close to you that you could get into contact with. So now I'm excited to tell you about Greater Southwest Development Corporation, which is the nonprofit that I am housed in. So we're located at 2601 West 63rd Street in Chicagoland community. And our vision is a thriving Southwest Chicago community. We really want to see our commercial corridors flourish and have that density and vibrancy that they once had decades ago. Our mission is to be a catalyst for creating and maintaining a vital Southwest Chicago community by empowering, building, and sustaining development that raises the quality of life for our neighborhood residents, businesses, and industries. So what this means in a nutshell is every activity that we're engaged in, we want to see the impact on the street, on the ground, in homes. We don't want to engage in, commercial redevelopment that doesn't improve the quality of life for our current business owners. We're actively trying to attract businesses to locate in our commercial corridors, assisting them with grant assistance from the county and the city, really trying to get that density back, so that as a livable, walkable, and a place where you can play with your family. So we've been serving Chicago communities during adversity. I shared a little bit about the history of Greater Southwest, but back in the 70s and 80s, they were heavily involved with protecting the housing stock in the community from redlining efforts and from disinvestment. So really trying to create an anchor in the community with our families, schools, churches, and organizing. The Southwest Organizing Project, SWAP, was birthed out of Greater Southwest Development Corporation, and they're really our sister agency now when it comes to organizing efforts in the community. So throughout the pandemic, GSDC worked with more than 1,800 business owners affected by the pandemic and secured 4.2 million in emergency funding to protect business, to restore, to if they had a loss of productivity due to the shutdown and the quarantines. This grant assistance really came in as critical assistance. We engaged with over 124 community residents on foreclosure prevention and rental assistance counseling, and while simultaneously providing safe, affordable housing for over 250 seniors. Our senior building staff worked tirelessly to ensure our seniors were safe and comfortable given all that was happening to them. As I am sure all of you are aware, the elderly community was severely impacted by COVID-19. A senior housing facility definitely had specific challenges. Many of us were able to quarantine alone in our homes. A senior housing complex as a community. And so, they definitely had to take extra measures to protect themselves against the spread and transmission of COVID-19, and as well as still maintaining a sense of community there. So going into like our main focus areas of Greater Southwest, we work primarily with business owners, and this is where the Illinois PTAC steps in. We help with reviewing and creating business plans, marketing plans, and accessing capital to grow their business. We help businesses become certified and leverage for contracts with government agencies. We help with applications for small business loans and grants, such as the Cook County Grow Grant. That's something that we're involved with now. We provide information on updated ordinances, workshops, and other information of interest to include zoning, business licensing, et cetera. We help with industrial corridor and manufacturing specific resources, grants, and trainings. We connect specifically with different businesses in our service area, engaging them where they're at and trying to provide the resources that they need to be successful. We help businesses with international market research and opportunities as well. That's really where the PTAC steps in with the competitive pricing and market research. Second, we provide housing counseling for our community. We have first-time homebuyer classes, pre-purchase counseling, post-purchase counseling, foreclosure prevention counseling. We have HUD certified counselors on staff that are available to support you in your home ownership journey, wherever you are in that. We help to analyze and help you understand your financial situation, assist in creating a household budget, review credit reports and credit scores, and we help develop a plan to settle collection amounts. What was critical during this, especially during the pandemic, is we worked extensively with homeowners to protect them under the uh, under the different ordinances that the city of Chicago passed to protect residents from rental landlords, especially there are programs available if you were not able to make your monthly mortgage payments. Greater Southwest had grant resources to help those homeowners directly. Community development. This is a huge part of what Greater Southwest does. We help the community thrive through beautification efforts, renovations to properties, and increased foot traffic to businesses. We offer 4-week workshops that dive into topics that are crucial to help businesses grow. These include basic financials for business, employee management, and building a website. And the unique thing about Greater Southwest Development Corporation is we are a bilingual agency. I myself speak Spanish, and most of our staff are bilingual, and many are residents of the Chicagoland community that we serve. So we serve 2 special service areas. They're called SSAs. We serve the 63rd Street SSA and the 59th Street SSA. And what this means is the business owners contribute a small amount of their tax into a fund that's then managed jointly by City of Chicago and Greater Southwest Development Corporation. So we're able to buy planters, the banners that you see in like the historic commercial corridors. We have a street sweeping and street cleaning service that we hire to make sure that the corridors are clean, walkable, and safe for our residents. Senior housing. So for over 20 years, we've provided high quality, affordable housing for seniors on Chicago's Southwest side. We operate 2 main senior housing facilities, Lawn Terrace Apartments and Churchview Manor. These are mixed use buildings. So on the first floor, you see we have community space, commercial store. We have community events that occur on our property. And we offer independent living for those seniors who still wish to live an active and urban lifestyle, and also supportive living as an alternative to nursing home care for low-income older persons and persons with physical disabilities. So we have a dedicated team on site to ensure that that sense of community is in place for our seniors, as they are a vital part of our community. We also assist with real estate development through our service area. So through business technical assistance, we've supported over $3 million worth of private real estate and development in the last 3 years. We help identify locations for lease or purchase and connect businesses to financing sources. This is what I was speaking to before about attracting businesses into our commercial corridors and areas. And we acquire real estate across the Southwest side to rehab and repurpose for community good. So many times we'll do this in collaboration with another nonprofit, another group, and take a building that may have gone private market, rehab and repurpose into a community center, into a place for members of our Chicagoland community to use. So the Illinois PTAC at GSDC, that all brings us here, and the program that I run. Currently, I have over 150 active small business clients, and I'm growing. The main focus areas of my program, I help small businesses with certification assistance, sam.gov registrations, government contract review, bid preparation, strategy and contracting with the government, capability statement development, which is a critical piece of information that you need for submitting a successful bid to the government, market research and pricing, and veteran businesses. Myself, I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army, so I have a special focus area for businesses on the Southwest side that are pursuing veteran certification programs through the VA or with other benefits available to them from City of Chicago. So here's my information. My office number is 773-436-1000, extension 421, and my email, m.crino@greatersouthwest.org. So my number one requirement is to do one-on-one confidential counseling with me and to be enrolled in the PTAC program. You have to sign up to be a business client. This is the link, ilsbdc.ecenterdirect.com/sign up. And once you go to this link, here are the main steps to do in order to be able to access my program. Is you have to click the Get Started and enter in your profile information and create a login. In the Select Center section, scroll down to select Illinois SBDC/PTAC at Greater SW Dev Corp. This is third down from the bottom, so scroll all the way down to the bottom and you can find our center there. And then you're going to click Sign Up. You'll then enter your user details, company details, sign agreement, and enter an area of requested assistance. Be sure to enter Michael Crino as your primary business counselor when you fill out this form so it goes directly to me. As our PTAC system serves many different clients throughout Illinois, we want to make sure that we're able to reach you and you're able to reach us. So again, that's ilsbdc.ecenterdirect.com/sign up. This is a no cost program. We don't charge a cent for what we do. My number one job is to help small businesses connect to government contracts. So the way that I'm compensated, right, is just reporting the counseling time and the economic impact your business has on your workers and in your industry. So you win and I win. That's the main focus of the program. We're here to help you. I'll come back to this page later on, so we can end and close with this just so that everybody has the access. You can take a screenshot of this, take a picture, or just write down the sign up link. So the goal of today's program, we want to do an overview of business certifications, and that's something that we discussed a little briefly before, but we're going to go more in depth here. And number two is our sam.gov entity validation. I'm sure that there are many people on this call that have questions about the sam.gov process. I want to shed a little light into some of the hiccups that the system's gone through this year and the way forward with that, and how to be successful when you are doing your entity validation. So let's begin with business certifications. So there are certifications at every level of government. You have your City of Chicago, your local certifications. You have your Cook County certifications, and other counties in Illinois may have their own certification programs. You have your state agencies such as IDOT, Metra, PACE. So think big transportation agencies. You have your state of Illinois certifications, and then you have your federal level certifications. So that's 5 different main levels of certifications. It's really daunting when you think, I want to get every certification out there. That's a tremendous a lot of work, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tape with the organizations to get your certification. So I really wanted to walk you through what each certification advantages are, how it could help your business. So let's start with the City of Chicago local. So the main ones that City of Chicago has through the Department of Procurement Services and their certification team: Women Business Enterprise, which is the WBE program; Minority Business Enterprise, which is the MBE program and certification; Veteran Business Enterprise, VBE; and the Airport Concessionaire Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, which is the ACDBE. Acronyms, get used to them. They're very common in government programs and contracts. So, always make sure that you understand what the acronym means, especially since one letter difference can mean a totally different category. So what I wanted to share about City of Chicago DPS, they have done a tremendous job in streamlining their certification process for businesses. And you are able to submit your application online now and select all the categories that may apply to you. For example, you could be a VBE and MBE, or a WBE and MBE, which would be a woman minority business enterprise. There is a fee to apply, but now once you get awarded the certification, the City of Chicago is saying that it's a one-time deal, meaning that you're going to have it until you don't have it. So there's no expiration now, as long as you file the annual affidavits for no change or for any changes that may occur. So this is really significant. Certifications have set aside contracts. So I like to explain it like this. Say there's $1 million in procurement that's going to happen. So City of Chicago could say, hey, 10% we want to give to women business enterprises for this certain industry. What that means is $100,000 of that million, are going to be dedicated to women business enterprises. That doesn't mean that it's a sole source contract that just gets given to a company. What that means is only women business enterprises and certified firms like that can actually see and bid on that contract against each other. So you're really reducing the competition. It's taking certain contracts and protecting them with a certification class, and then businesses who have that can bid on it. For example, MBE, a lot of the city projects have minority business enterprise contracting goals. So big prime contractors will get awarded big projects with the city, and then they have to hire their subs who are MBEs to perform on that contract. That's where an MBE certification would really come in handy, because you would be able to bid as a subcontractor on that main contract with the city. So don't think that these are only reserved for prime contractors. These can also help you get subcontract opportunities as well. So let's go into Cook County. Cook County is very similar to City of Chicago. They have a WBE certification, an MBE certification, and a Veteran Business Enterprise VBE certification. They have a similar but different process, a different portal that you go through. But the unique thing about Cook County and City of Chicago is that there is a reciprocity agreement for the certifications. So for example, you become a women business enterprise in Cook County and you want to bid on a City of Chicago CPS contract. Well, you have your Cook County. So your first thought is, well, maybe I need to get my City of Chicago certification too. Once you have your Cook County certification, you can use a form, show that you have the Cook County certification with your registered number, and apply for that contract. And then that contracting agent will look at your form and say, gotcha, they're already certified in Cook County. They also are certified with City of Chicago. We honor that certification. So that's unique to Cook County and City of Chicago. Now you may say, man, which one should I get? I want to do work in both, or I want to do work primarily in Chicago, but I don't want to cut myself out of opportunities in the near ring suburbs, for example. The recommendation from the city and also the recommendation from the Illinois PTAC is get your certification where you're going to do business the most. Because you're going to be submitting this form with every contract you submit on, if it's outside of your primary area, it would make more sense, for example, to get a Cook County certification if you're doing mostly work in the suburbs and then a couple contracts here and there in the city. Vice versa, if you're doing most of your contracts with City of Chicago and City of Chicago agencies and do a couple out in the suburbs, I would recommend getting the City of Chicago certification and then using that registration form with that specific contract so that you can get that reciprocity. That just makes sense for the business and also for the certifying agency. So the reciprocity between Chicago and Cook is good for all the main departments in Chicago: Central Management Service, CPS, Chicago Public Schools, the county, Chicago, Cook County Forest Preserve, for example, Health and Human Services, the Cook County Hospital System, Park District, CHA, Chicago Housing Authority, etc. So definitely check each procurement website to make sure that they accept the reciprocity, or you can also reach out to the PTAC and we can check for you, if they do accept city or county certifications. So let's talk about state of Illinois and sister agencies or state agencies. So we have the IDOT DBE program. IDOT stands for Illinois Department of Transportation, and the DBE is the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program. They're a part of the Illinois UCP program. So what this means is if you get certified as a disadvantaged business enterprise with IDOT, and under that DBE, you could be a women business, veteran business, minority business, service disabled veteran business, etc. Once you get that IDOT certification, you get certified across transportation agencies: IDOT, Metro, PACE, City of Chicago Department of Transportation, and the Federal Department of Transportation as well. So that's a huge, hole in one there. IDOT has a tremendous program They have counselors and no-cost assistance to help businesses navigate the documentation requirements and how to submit correctly and be considered for that certification. So definitely take advantage of that and reach out if you're interested in this, learning more about it. Reach out to me directly. I'd be happy to take you on as a client and guide you directly to the I.DVE program so you can be successful there. The state of Illinois, they have a Minority and Women Business Enterprises MBEWE program. The very same as City of Chicago and Cook, but it's a different level of government. So there is no reciprocity agreement with the state of Illinois and Cook County, for example. But there is a reciprocity agreement and a quick streamlined certification for somebody in the IDOT program to state of Illinois. So think of it as each level kind of recognizes itself. So the Small Business Set Aside program is another program from the state of Illinois that says 10% of all Illinois contracts from the state of Illinois are going to be dedicated to Illinois small businesses. They have set aside industry codes so that certain codes are automatically put into this category. Last year alone, $400 million were dedicated to small businesses in Illinois as just 10%. And that's a lot of money, right? That's a lot of money that's spent every year. And that's a registration site that you can easily get signed up on. I recently did a webinar for the Illinois Small Business Set Aside program with the state. So that's also part of the PTAC. We provide those training opportunities so that you can really have access to all these great resources. And then the state of Illinois finally has a veteran business enterprise program with the state. So very similar, to the VBE with City of Chicago and Cook. There's certain set aside contracts from the state of Illinois that if you're a veteran business enterprise, you can compete directly for against other veteran business enterprise firms. So federal level certifications, this is all administered through the SBA, which is the Small Business Administration. We have the Small Disadvantaged Business Certification, which is the SDB, Women-Owned Small Business, WOSB. They have an historically underutilized business zone, which is the hub zone. So the hub zone is basically every year or whenever it's up for annual review, the federal government charts out areas in the country that have been historically underutilized or underdeveloped, and they basically set aside federal contract opportunities for those areas. That means that if you're a business in a hub zone, you qualify for the set asides for that area. So definitely you would have to see if your business qualifies that you're in an actual hub zone. That's fleshed out in the application itself, and you also have to have 35% of your workers live in that hub zone area to benefit from this. We have service disabled veteran owned small business, which is the SDVOSB, and the veteran owned small business certification. Right now, everybody, this is pretty important. Right now, this has traditionally been under the VA, the Department of Veteran Affairs. After October 24th, it transitions to the SBA. So all these federal level certifications are going to be in the same house. So the veteran business certifications are going to be under the SBA, and you won't be able to apply for that certification until the new year. So until 2023. So, if you're interested in doing this, definitely contact the VA right away or reach out to me, and I can direct you to how to get your veteran business certification application in before that deadline passes. October 24th is when they're going to basically put the whole program on pause until they can restart it up in the SBA in January. And then last but not least is the powerful 8A business development program with the SBA. This is everybody talks about 8A. Hey, I want to get 8A. I want to get 8A. The 8A is a 9-year business development and mentorship program through the federal government. These participants in the 8A program actually are eligible for sole source contracting as part of their business development and mentorship. They pair you up with a mentor protege relationship. So a big company that doesn't qualify for any small business certifications or set aside contracts will pair up with a small women owned small business in the 8A program, for example, they get the sole source contract, but then they're helped with the performance of it from the larger firm. So this is a tremendous program, but it's a huge time commitment on that business. And the whole goal of it is that at the end of those 9 years, you're graduated out of the 8A program. You have been given all the tools necessary to be able to engage successfully in government contracting and federal contracting specifically. Um, So let's do a quick summary of these certifications. I know that this is quite a lot, but basically I want to break it down and make it simple as possible. Government certifications help firms get recognized for status. So basically, hey, I'm a SDB business. Okay, got it. That means that you're a small disadvantaged business. It's a business resume item. You're certifying to the general contracting market that you're representing your business, your unique story, and it can help you there to kind of stand out from other firms that don't have those certification or classes. They open doors for specific set-aside contracts for special classes. For example, you can have access to those VBE set-asides that other businesses who aren't veteran-owned aren't able to bid on. So in addition to just general contracting, you're opening the door to a special set of contracts and reduced competition in bidding for those. There's sole source contract opportunities with certain programs, the 8A program, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, at some times with emergency spending, able to do sole source. And it proves to the government at all levels, local, county, state, federal, that you're vetted and you've gone through the process. There is a lot of upfront work with certification, but once you have it, you're proving you don't have to really prove anymore that you're a women business enterprise. You already have your certification. So it's on paper, there's that trust aspect that a federal agency, for example, or a state agency, they know exactly who you are just based on that certification. And it can make a firm more competitive in the general contract market. So think about it this way. There's a lot of companies out there who see certifications as their end road. Basically, I'm gonna get this certification, and then I'm only gonna get veteran business contracts because they're gonna come to me. You still have to bid actively on contracts, even if they're in a set aside category. But what it does is it makes you more competitive in the general contract market. Many firms who are 8A certified, most of their contracting are not 8A sole source contracts. What that means is the 8A elevates your business, gets you a certain status and standing in the general marketplace, and you're able to bid against bigger firms and be successful because organizations that have contracting goals may select you to fulfill those. For example, City of Chicago has to do, and this is hypothetical, 10% women business enterprise contracting. That doesn't mean they stop at 10%. 10% is that's the bar that they have to meet. So if you're in the general contract market as a women business enterprise in City of Chicago, and they see you bidding on a general contract that everybody else has, you may get selected because they want to go above that 10% goal. So it really helps you stand out. Certifications, it opens the doors, yes, to certain set aside classifications and contracts, but don't let that hinder you from going out and just bidding on any contract that you're interested in, because it could really help you in that process. Chicago and Cook County are the only ones that fee the applications. So state, IDOT, and the federal government, they're all free applications. And what you pay for is in time, submitting the information. They are somewhat lengthy applications, but worth it. Quick summary. The biggest things is you have to be complete in your submission information. Don't leave anything blank. If you don't have the information, explain why you don't have the information. A lot of these applications are kicked out because there's just missing categories. And so if you explain, for example, a new business and they want 5 years of tax returns, but you only have one, Provide that 1 year of tax return, but then with a statement, hey, this is the only one I filed for because I'm a new business. These certifications don't punish you for being new. In fact, City of Chicago has a goal to bring you on and see that the certification is part of your business development plan as a new business. But you have to be upfront about what you have and what you don't have. Don't let the government agency assume that you're not providing information when you do have it, because they may kick your application back. You go through another round of review, and you're delayed and stalled at that point. So be completely upfront about all your information. If you're a women business enterprise, for example, this one comes up a lot. And you apply for this, you need to prove from the beginning to the end that it's truly owned and managed and operated by a woman in that business structure. So yes, you could be involved with the operation, but if the ownership structure and the organizational structure on paper doesn't designate you as women 51% owned and controlled, that could be an issue when they're looking at the documentation to prove. The same thing with bank account control. So for example, a veteran business enterprise could apply for certification, but that veteran owner manager doesn't have access of the banking and doesn't control the banking. Well, the certifying agency would say, are you truly in control of the business if you don't have control of the banking? So make sure that you are, consistent from all your documentation with Secretary of State, your internal business documentations, any business charters you have, articles of corporation, of organization, and make sure that you have everybody on paper that you're saying is owning and managing the company. All right, we will transition now into the sam.gov entity validation. I included this very burly picture of Uncle Sam here. Whenever I think of federal contracting, I think of the federal government in a somewhat aged perspective, right? Sort of like old timey. But what the federal government really is doing right now is modernizing, and part of that is their sam.gov and getting businesses registered at the federal level. So sam.gov entity validation. What is sam.gov? It is the system for award management. It is the federal register for all businesses to do any business with any federal agency at that level. It is absolutely necessary for government contracting at the federal level. In addition, some state contracts have sam.gov requirements. For example, if it's federal money administered by the state, and you're on a state grant, they may say, hey, you need to have a sam.gov profile because it's federal money. We need to track and report because that's where the money's coming from. So this is a critical part to doing government contracting. The validation process is critical to becoming a vendor. So you can't really be a vendor with the government. You can't sell goods or services to the federal government without being validated properly. So the sam.gov system, it prevents improper payments, procurement fraud, and maintains integrity of the government contracts and grants processes. It's part of their Transparency Act. They put every open federal contract that's required to, be in the general marketplace. They put them up on sam.gov so that all the businesses have access to seeing them and the opportunity to bid on them. So required, you need a sam.gov validation when you register a business entity, renew your entity registration annually, to get a unique entity ID, which is called the UEI, and to update or change your entity's name or address. So basically anything that you do requires a entity validation. So a little background on this and what's made 2022 unique for the entity validations. In April 2022, the federal government and sam.gov stopped using and issuing the DUNS number. So traditionally, I think for the last couple decades, DUNS was your federal registered number, and you just had to list your DUNS in your cage code, and that's how federal agents and agencies were able to find you, locate you, and process payment to your profile into your account. Well, in April 2022, Duns and Bradstreet, which was the company that administered the Duns number, no longer was under contract with sam.gov. And so then sam.gov took on the role of validating entities and came up with the UEI number, which is the unique entity identifier number. And it's now the required number and only available via sam.gov, the entity validation process. So the DUNS number is no longer required for awards at the federal level. They want the UEI. Now, due to some of the technological issues they've had this year, with that switch over, some of the organizations and agencies out there are still accepting DUNS if you have not been able to get your UEI yet, but you need to be and prove that you are in process of trying to get it to do that federal contracting. But I would say as of 2023, here shortly, it's only going to be UEI moving forward. Disregard any DUNS number that you had before. This has been the largest federal IT transition in decades. And when they did it, it just created a huge mess. There were over 300,000 active incidents for validation issues. And so I've been helping a lot of clients navigate this process. A lot of the applications have been getting stalled out. And because sam.gov hasn't had the appropriate IT support from internal staff, just because of the amount and the volume of incidents, they've had to contract out a lot of their IT support. And so sometimes these incidents get lost, and that's where working with your PTAC can really help you elevate your issue and kind of figure out what the next step is and to get your entity validated. So there are traditionally two paths in the entity validation. These are the two that I've seen. So the validation, when you go through the process, you create your profile with sam.gov, you go in and navigate to your workspace, and then you can say get started or get registered with a UEI. Once you go through that process and you provide your business information, the validation goes through. It says it's searching hundreds of records or millions of records. And it provides a match to your entity. So you say, hey, I'm Bob Smith, and my address is at 123 Smith Drive, and you put that information in, the sam.gov is going to provide a match to that. They're going to say, okay, John Smith at 123 Smith Drive, got you. You're in our system. You select the exact match to your business. It goes through the system and it generates a UEI. It gives you that UEI number in your profile. It then allows you to complete the core information. You have to answer some federal award questions about management, about labor standards, about where you get your product from, where you source it from, are you Buy American, etc. And then it gets sent to the IRS and the DLA cage office. And, the IRS, they do a TIN validation, basically making sure that your business is registered properly. They do a quick tax record review. And then if it passes that, it goes to the DLA, which is the Defense Logistics Agency. It goes in through the cage code validation process. So the cage code is basically, you have your UEI from sam.gov, and then you have your cage code, which is used by Department of Defense and any defense contractors. So there are two codes that you get together. Once this goes through, it sends it back to you saying, hey, your validation is successful. You have your UEI, your cage code number, and your expiration date. Those three items are critical to your business. Basically, it shows that you're currently registered, you have your sam.gov number, and you're validated by Department of Defense to do business. So those three items are critical. The second path that happens is when you enter your business information and they cannot find an exact match. So they say sam.gov cannot provide a match. You select none of these apply. Basically, all the matches that they give you don't match John Smith at 123 Smith Drive. So you click the information does not match my entity. So what that does is it creates an incident report. So it's like a flag on your account, and you have to provide additional documentation to prove that you're John Smith and your business is at 123 Smith Drive. And so this is kind of where a lot of the hiccups have been coming from, is when sam.gov cannot provide that match because they don't have the information. So they're asking for you to prove it. So typically with the incidents, it's taken 7 to 10 business days for sam.gov to review the documentation uploaded to the sam.gov incident and to validate the entity. So this is kind of where the hiccups occur. They stall out here, the incidents, IT issues. There's, so many hundreds of thousands of incidents is that, that it wasn't processed correctly, or there's a delay that it's taking longer than the 10 business days to do, for example. The registration stays in pending ID assignment draft registration without advancing to the validation. So a lot of times you'll see your account just sit um, and stall out for weeks and weeks, sometimes even months with no action on it. That's when you really want to call your PTAC counselor or get a hold of me, because we can kind of see what's going on in the back end and help you navigate through that. Um, Sometimes the information was updated without a notification. So when you upload your business information to that incident, sam.gov is going to go ahead and put that match for your business into their system. But, due to the IT issues, they haven't sent you an email notifying you that it's in there. So many times, we can go in and do a new entity validation attempt, and your match will be in there already, and we can just go through the process. And then in some cases, the information uploaded was incorrect or not sufficient, and the incident stays unresolved. So for example, if you upload documents proving your entity at your address and legality of your registration, it's not sufficient for sam.gov. It may be sufficient for our purposes, but for the federal system, it got flagged for one reason or the other. The address, the suite number was wrong on the form. The document's too old. The document doesn't have all the critical elements on it. And they just don't process it. And the incident stays unresolved. So acceptable documents. Now that leads us into, well, what documents do I provide sam.gov so that they will consider me and push me through? So they advertise a comprehensive list of acceptable documents. From my experience working with clients, take note of this. This is important. For guaranteed success, only submit your Secretary of State from the state of Illinois, your business filings, any main articles of incorporation, articles of organization for an LLC filed with the state. That is your golden ticket document. That has your name, it has your address, it has your business information, and it has the stamp and the seal from the state verifying, basically acting as a notary, right, of that form. And so you want to make sure too that if you've changed your address, that you filed a statement of change for that LLC or that incorporation with the state. So any state of Secretary of State document and basically a paper trail of all those filings are what you're going to want to submit to validate your entity if they have an incident for you. So make sure the continuity of your business name, address, and any other changes with Secretary of State. So for example, if you started out as a certain business and then filed a DBA, doing business as, and changed kind of the business name, or you're registered in another state and then registered in Illinois as a DBA, you need to have all the original documents showing that path. Some businesses go through multiple address changes, or filed the first address to a residential address, for example, when the business was just getting started out, and then moved to commercial address. But that business owner didn't update their Secretary of State filing to show that new business. Well, when you go through your sam.gov process and they try to validate it, they're going to look against other systems. They're going to pull your Secretary of State. They're going to pull the USPS. They're going to pull, IRS. And if there's a discrepancy in that address, you're going to get stalled. They're not going to validate your entity. You have to be from the beginning to the end consistent to the period of your address, business name, and any other changes. So again, this is something that I would be happy to work with you on. If you're stalled out and don't know what forms to submit, I can help find what you're filed with the state, how to request documents, how to do a statement of change with the state of Illinois, to get everything consistent before we go ahead and try to do your sam.gov validation. So FSD.gov, which is the Federal Service Desk.gov, they keep track of those incidents. So when the incident pops, it's an FSD incident. If the registration is stalled on sam.gov, you can re-engage on FSD and add comments to the incident number and add docs to sam.gov. So for example, you have an active incident, you've discovered that you've added some incorrect documents. We can go in and add those documents back to sam.gov to the incident, and then go into the FSD and say, hey, I updated my sam.gov with these new documents, please process. That triggers the IT agents on the FSD side to pay attention to your incident. So here's my huge recommendation here, and this could be your only takeaway from today, and I would be happy with that. But do a counseling with your PTAC advisor and resubmit an entity validation to get the best results. Avoid the backlog, just submit a new one. So in your sam.gov workspace, you can have as many pending registrations as you want. They haven't gone through. The only one that counts is the one that gets validated and verified. I've worked with clients that have 4 different attempts. And then when they work with me, we do that 5th, and that's the one that gets validated. And then they just have the 4 pending on their account. That's okay. And there's a way to remove that. We can create a ticket on FSD and say, hey, please remove the pending ID assignments on my workspace. This is the one I want, and this is the one that's active. Due to the backlog of everything, it's just quicker and easier to resubmit, get started, do a new entity validation with the right documents. So again, all these things are processed in queue. So if your old validation attempt is really far down that queue list, we go in and put a new one in with the right documents. You could very well be processed quickly, once you've confirmed that we're doing the right documents and submitting them. So avoid the backlog, just submit a new entity registration. Don't worry about pending ID assignments. The only one that counts is the active one. Maintain constant communication with sam.gov regarding the incident. Incidents are automatically closed out after 5 days without correspondence. So this is where, on a business owner, you have to pay close attention to your spam, to your email inbox, any communication you get on your validation attempt, and they're requesting information from you, you have to respond. If you don't respond, it just closes it out. If you do respond, you kind of keep the IT incident open, and it kind of circulates that way. You provide information, they'll make a change, get back to you. You keep that chain open, and that way, when you come and work with a PTAC counselor, if you have an open incident, we're able to help you more quickly because that incident is open and getting resolved. We can provide some input to make it quicker. So you must ensure your correct names and addresses with this correspondence. This is really a huge tip for success. Maintain that continuity of your business story. John Smith, at this address, I've done 3 business address changes. Here are all my statement of change filings with Secretary of State. And this is where I am today. And then sam.gov is going to say, check, 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 check. Great, got it. Okay, he's moved from these 3 different addresses, and he changed his name of his business too. All the forms are here, good to go. Big thing here, PO boxes are not accepted for physical addresses. So if you have a PO box, definitely work to get either a residential address or a business address. This is just going to be a huge flag on a federal entity validation. So definitely we'll change that right away. This could be a reason why you've not been able to get validated. So definitely change your business address, do the statement of change filing with the Secretary of State, and then reattempt a sam.gov validation. And then avoid multiple incidents for the same issue. Like I said, avoid the backlog. You submitting multiple incidents on the same validation, it's just going to create a longer and longer delay and complicate the issue. The best thing is just to start fresh, do a new one with the right documents, and you'll get processed quickly, I guarantee. All right, so I wanted to explain a little bit about the different statuses that show on your sam.gov account. If it shows pending ID assignment status, select get started and restart the process. There should be a match in the system. That's what I'm talking about. sam.gov maybe went on the back end and updated your business information. If it says pending ID assignment, get started, restart the process, and you very well could find a match. If it says ID assigned status, you got a UEI, congrats. That was the biggest hurdle through your incident, and you got it. So that's great news. Validation required. you need to select validate entity in the drop down. There's usually 3 little dots next to your business name in the workspace. You should find your match once you do the validation process there. And then if it says work in progress registration, that means it's back in draft mode, and you can continue and update the entity record. So it's basically returned to you for review, and then you're going to add some documents and resubmit, and it goes back into submitted registration status. So I wanted to do some frequently asked questions from your peers, and then we'll open this up to a general Q&A, because I know that there's probably many questions on here, and I'd love to have some time to be able to address them. But basically, I had a registration with sam.gov. Why can't I find a match? Well, the database changed in April. When Duns and Bradstreet operated the Duns number, they no longer were under federal contract. sam.gov has had to start from scratch. You create the match in the sam.gov system. So if they don't have it and they're like, hey, here's an incident report, you need to submit and upload documents proving your business information, you're creating your own match in sam.gov. And so what they do is they take that information, they update the backend, and then you're able to see the match for your business. But that's because the documents you submitted, they're going to use to update your record with. So that's why the Secretary of State is the critical document. It just makes it much easier for them to validate your business. Why am I getting rejected at the CAGE process if I'm already validated with sam.gov and have a UEI? So CAGE code reviews are done by the DLA, the Defense Logistics Agency. Resolution of the CAGE code issues directly with DLA. They check against Secretary of State, IRS, and USPS records for your business information. If there's an issue with the CAGE validation, they will email you, and this is a 3-day business turnaround. They're going to email you kind of a general questionnaire of saying, hey, we noticed that at this address, there's these other businesses. Can you verify that this is true? What is the full name of your business? What is the primary name and contact number of your CEO or the person submitting the validation? This is, again, a separate than sam.gov. If there's an issue where the DLA sends you this correspondence and you don't get back within 3 days, they close the issue and they return it to sam.gov. And so we have to restart that process in sam.gov. There's no limit on how many times you can go through this. So don't think like, oh man, like I missed it. And now I'm messed up on this process. It's pretty automated. So, if there's an issue, they'll send you the same form. You have to be very consistent with how you respond to DLA. Keep that loop open by responding to those emails. And this is where it would be really good to work with your PTAC counselor, because I can help me and other PTAC counselors. We can help you and how to respond to that DLA email so it goes through. 3, well, I need to validate anytime I update my sam.gov registration. So validation is required every year when you renew your entity validation, change your entity name or address, or when you first register an entity. If nothing has changed since the last validation, then an incident should not be generated. So for example, we go through this whole process, like a 2-month delay of getting your entity validation, finally upload the right documents, you get your UEI, and then it expires next year. As long as they were able to validate you and you had a UEI, it should not be an issue to just get revalidated and get your expiration date updated. What do I need to do in order to change my business name or address with sam.gov? So go to sam.gov, navigate to the entity workspace to update with your new information. FSD.gov has step-by-step instructions and guides with screenshots. This is a great resource, FSD.gov. It's a whole Q&A. These questions are on FSD.gov, already answered for you. You can download worksheets, PowerPoints, step-by-step guides to doing anything with your sam.gov account. So again, FSD.gov, critical resource, and you can be successful there. And get a lot of information. But an even better resource is to contact your PTAC counselor, because we work with these on a daily basis. We're able to very quickly troubleshoot where you are, do a one-on-one session with you. You can even share your screen with me since it's confidential counseling. I can help walk you through the sam.gov validation process, figure out what's going on with your account, and ultimately get you your UEI, which is really what you need to be successful. So here's my contact information once again. Michael Crino, I'm the PTAC director at GSDC. That's my email, m.crino@greatersouthwest.org. Right now, this sign up link, you all can go up here now and sign up your client, and it comes to me in the system, and we could start a one-on-one counseling as early as next week. So again, that's ilsbdc.ecenterdirect.com/sign up. And these are the steps to select Greater Southwest. Enter in your profile information. In the second step in select center, scroll down to the very bottom and select Illinois SBDC/PTAC at Greater SW Dev Corp. That's how we're registered on this page. And you click sign up under that Greater SW Dev Corp. Enter in your user details, company details, sign the agreement, and then enter in your area of requested assistance. What this does is it comes to my system. It tells me a new client signed up. I'm able to accept the client, and then we can start our one-on-one counseling program that way. That is my requirement. Unfortunately, I'm not able to help without a client being set up first with counseling, just for the state reporting guidelines. Basically, anytime I work with a small business, we have to record it against the state for the grant reporting purposes. So make sure that you definitely sign up if you want to work with the PTAC. So now I'd like to open it up to a little bit of Q&A, and I think BACP can help facilitate this if I'm not mistaken. So please keep your question brief or follow up via email directly to me at m.crino@greatersouthwest.org. Again, that's m.crino@greatersouthwest, one word, .org, and I'd be happy to work with you there. BACP, I think, I'm ready to do some Q&A. I'm waiting on your cue.
Let's see if we have any questions. Oh, man.
Are we looking at the chat box here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you got like about 12 questions. Let's see.
Okay. So I see a question from NAICS, and what are the eligibility criteria? And are new businesses eligible to bid or need X years of work behind the company? So I can answer this real quick. So what NAICS codes are, they're the national I actually don't know the full acronym, but basically it's your federal 6-digit code. For example, if you do printing for your company, you type in into the NAICS code finder printing, and it gives you all the 6-digit codes associated with the industry area with that industry. So again, structural steel, it has its own section of NAICS codes. Basically, federal contracts are organized by NAICS codes. And so they say, hey, we're doing contracting in these code areas. All that means is just the industry areas. So you just have to be able to do that work in that area to say that you can do that that work under that NAICS codes. And again, it depends on the contract. They will list what the requirements are on the contract when you submit. The government, when they buy products, they generally don't look at years of experience. They look at pricing and quality of the product and deliverability or deliverable windows for the product. If you're selling the government services, I want to do this project, I want to build this for you, I want to do IT consulting services, I want to do website design, they're going to look at your business and the years of experience behind that company. And so that's important to have a good business resume, be clear on your successes and your private contracts that you've done. And they will say too what their minimum requirements are on that specific contract. So I see here clarify the difference between PTAC and GSDC. GSDC seems to be location-based assistance, but PTAC is statewide. Okay, so again, PTAC is Procurement Technical Assistance Center. We are funded by the state of Illinois. I am able to work with anybody in the state. There are 9 different PTAC offices throughout Illinois, and we serve our sort of local areas as primary focus. But for example, I have clients that are downstate, south of Springfield, that are in my program because they want to work with my office, and we just do virtual. So that's fine. GSDC is definitely location based. So the nonprofit that I'm housed in does a lot of the Southwest side redevelopment work, senior housing, et cetera. So, I participate also with that, and the PTAC, the government contracting assistance. I help local small businesses on the Southwest side as well as companies outside of Chicagoland. But that's my primary focus area, companies on the Southwest side of Chicago. So there are no costs to PTAC or GSDC. The nonprofit, we don't charge membership fees or associated costs. The PTAC program, it's a no-cost program. We don't like to use the word free. We just don't charge a cent for our services. We do federal level assistance, state level assistance, really assist in every facet of government contracting. You do not have to have a certification to get your entity validation on sam.gov. Certifications are a separate thing. When you go through your sam.gov registration and set up your profile, you can select in there what you're certified as. However, that doesn't guarantee that you have it. sam.gov allows you to put in any information there. You can kind of self-certify or self-select. But when you're going for a federal contract, they're going to check against the SBA, the Small Business Administration, regardless of what your sam.gov account says. So again, sam.gov doesn't confirm your certifications that you state. It's just simply your profile and registration with the federal government. Getting back to the different types of certifications, is there a category for business owners who have a disability? Absolutely. That would not be at the federal level, but rather the state, county, and city level. So definitely reach out to Department of Procurement Services, the Cook County procurement website and their certification team, and the State of Illinois Business Enterprise Program for information on owners with disabilities for businesses. For PTAC, what are the requirements? Example, starting a business / new business. I require that you are an existing business and want to work with the PTAC. Essentially, government contracting is a big endeavor. So you want to be established, you want to have your licensing in order, you want to be filed with Secretary of State and already set up. Because what I'm going to work with you as on your capability statement of getting you prepped and geared up to really pitch your business, your product, or your service to a federal contracting agent. So if you don't have an idea yet what you want your business to be, working with a PTAC may not be the best first step for your business. You may want to work with an SBDC, which is a small business development center, or a Chicago business center, and they can help you with sort of those basic startup requirements. Next question, do we have to work with a PTAC in our region, or can we work with anyone? You can work with anyone in your state. So this is pretty critical if you're an out-of-state business and you, for example, do business in Chicago. You would have to be registered in Illinois to work with the PTAC program. Likewise, your home state where your business is, has their own PTAC program and offices, and you can connect with them there. If you go to the APTAC website, that's APTAC, and look that up on Google, and you can find a PTAC and SBDC finder that way for your area. In regards to region in Illinois, it's preference based on what center you want to work with. But generally, I find it most helpful for businesses to work with their local PTACs because that local PTAC is going to have access to all the local resources that that business could benefit from. So would this be for someone who wants to bring a service to a nursing home or some government business, such as doing residents' hair or cutting hair? I would say haircutting services generally are not in government contracts unless you have a haircutting service on a military base, for example. Then that would be considered a government contract. The nursing home, if you brought a service into a federally funded nursing home or a city of Chicago or Cook County funded nursing home, then that could be considered a government contract. But for privately operated, privately owned homes, that would just be considered private contracting at that point. So I see here a question about IHCC. Illinois Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, they do have a PTAC. That's Angie. She runs the PTAC program there. If you live in the West Lawn area and you find it, better to work with your local PTAC, that's fine. I think a lot of our clients, our program is relatively new, only been around about 2 years. So a lot of clients that have worked with PTAC have been, working with other PTACs throughout the city and Chicagoland area. When they found out about ours, they just navigated to ours because we're close by. So it's up to you. I would say if you've already started to work with a PTAC, reach out to me or reach out to the PTAC that you have contact with, and we can just do a client transfer and move you down to working with me at Greater Southwest. But again, it's up to the client. Just let us know what you would like to do. So here's a question about Deltec webinars for contract platform access. Does PTAC provide platform access for procurement bids? We provide links to procurement site registrations. So again, I'm not able to act on anybody's behalf, or I'm not able to just give you a portal that's directly through PTAC to these vendor websites. You would have to register your business with these vendor websites. But what we do offer is that bid match program. Basically, it's an internet crawler. It searches all the federal contracts that pertain to your business, geographic area, and your keywords, and it sends you contract opportunities that way. So that's a tremendous service that's available for your business once you become a client. So here's a question about acquiring property for my business somewhere on the south side of Chicago. I would say reach out to me directly, and I can put you in touch with our commercial redevelopment team for Greater Southwest. That's our team that manages our commercial corridors and works with local grant programs to get new businesses in storefronts. And also COVID assistance, from the hardships that were endured by small businesses there. But definitely reach out if you're looking to acquire commercial property. We manage a small portfolio, but have connections to our special service areas, and there's money there from the city to re-densify those areas. And again, for grants for property, again, those are administered through the city and through the county. I personally don't work with the grants and help with that since I'm specifically government contracting based, but there's other members of the Greater Southwest team that work with small businesses for grant assistance. So please reach out and I can redirect any questions further that way. Seems like that was all the questions in the chat.
Yeah, I'm looking. I don't see any more either. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, please, and would like to receive credit for today's webinar, please send an email to bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. Again, that email is bacpoutreach@cityofchicago.org. Michael, any last words?
I would like to thank everybody for being in attendance today. It's my privilege to share about the PTAC program. I myself didn't know much about the PTAC program before I came into this role. So it's a tremendous value that it offers to small businesses here in Illinois. Again, we are a no-cost service. We're here to help you gain access to federal and state and local government contracting opportunities. And again, the whole goal is to help advance your business and have these opportunities that the big companies have been bidding on for years. And so the pressure is on to get smaller businesses into that mix, and so that you can see these as opportunities to grow your business and bring on additional workers to your companies. So again, thank you so much, and I hope everybody has a great Friday.
Thank you.